And then we get to a killer section which probably caused a lot of hand issues to a great amount of pianists, but this is only because we tend to overthink about these middle layers. So again, in Chopin, when you play fortissimo, middle layers are played very gently. So this is your sound basically for middle layers, and you play that using the whole arm and focusing the tips of the fingers, releasing them between hits, and cushioning with the elbow, and the movement of the elbow of the arm is kind of like outwards. This is a terrible exaggeration, but this is how it feels basically. Then you will minimize it, of course. Whenever you hit the long note, again, just make sure that you don't hold more tension than necessary. Release the hand. So relaxation in the hand while you hold long note. Immediate relaxation, release of all the unnecessary tension. In the left hand, of course, you focus the thumb. Even if you want to voice the lower voice, you nevertheless have to feel a gentle support on the thumb. That's essential for comfort. And of course, relaxation between release. So I release fingers between each octave. Release, 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 release on one level, on finger level. But on the arm level, I release properly the forearm also here. And I raise it a bit, yeah? Raise the forearm, release the whole wrist, the whole hand palm. So thinking in pairs. Even here, you always approach to the pair. You think from the 16th note. 16th note belongs to the next beat. And you play all such pairs, approaching them from above and uniting that pair with one arm motion. And you practice always in a comfortable tempo. You can provide that relaxation between hits. That's essential. And then gradually faster, yeah, but preserving those comfortable sensations. Before the strong beat, you release. Here, there's a relaxation, yeah. And such things you play again, like out of the keyboard, in the keyboard. So kind of counter emotions. Well, you can experiment with different ways, like playing ricochet, but I find more comfortable out, in. In the left hand also, you have to create those curves, excitement. Yeah, so it's also dynamic. Yeah, reaction on curves, especially when it gets higher. That spot in 262, of course, it needs more. So here you also should be generous in time usage. You play it very like massaging through, very noble. Yeah, but nevertheless quite strong. And I jump with the thumb like that. You just have to release the thumb properly. And again, marking the curve. So I would really bring out those splashes in the left hand. And then again, it's still very intensive, but not too loud. You can even shadow in natural a bit. And this bar, I would suggest you to start it actually softer. Then you will be able to create crescendo toward the strong beat. And nevertheless, probably that would be a good idea to soften the strong beat. So a little bit more nobility for the strong beat. But then I would really accelerate. So the whole section I would play in a rather like broader way with an ability, with a full sound, but shadowing middle layers a little bit, and in kind of like wide tempo. My God, I don't see anything behind that thing. But only from here, I would actually start accelerating, yeah, and increasing the tempo. Now we will get there in a moment, and I just wanted to share with you my own perception of that coda. So basically what happens after that complete loneliness and after realization that you're completely doomed. And there are a few very painful, very important key points in this piece. One of them is this one, as we have already discussed. This is where you realize that all your previous life, whatever difficult and turbulent it was, sometimes it was really pleasant, full of love and care, with some dear people on your side. Sometimes it was even quite healthy. Some while ago, this sounds quite healthy in the beginning. Sometimes you had, of course, some turbulences and but it's still like, you know, a storm which you can manage, basically. Some turbulent episodes in your life which are not that tragic. But here, this is a realization of a catastrophe which is coming upon you. So basically here, the music becomes really scary and desperate. And then you understand that your life is being broken in this beautiful section of one voice. Then we have a little bit of consolation in B major and stuff, but then more and more pain gets through the piece, yeah, like here. You might feel like how lonely and how kind of like depressed this sounds in comparing with earlier sections. Yeah, when you have this is still like really. This is quite dramatic, but it doesn't sound that lonely, you know. And here you already realize how lonely you are and how doomed you are. So somewhere from that section. From bar 182 and stuff. Here is already where you start feeling the end. And what happens, incredible thing happens, you have the first catharsis, like you have that kind of like angel presence around you. And still you can't really give up on idea, give up on your former life. You're not ready to let it go. Yeah? And because you don't let it go, you're still kind of holding on that past life. That's why you end up here in the most lonely spot, which is even more painful, and that's probably the most heartbreaking part of that piece. Then we have a little bit of a nightmare. So something is brewing, something is cooking, and surprisingly enough, we get out of that storm absolutely transformed like a phoenix, like rising from ashes. And the last coda, it sounds incredibly generous and transformed to me. So this is a complete spiritual transformation when you say, yes, I'm mortal, yes, I'm going to die, but I will make you all happy before I leave, or something like that. So it's crazy, crazy stuff, which blows your mind and which really shows how beautiful, how strong, and how generous humane spirit can be, basically. So that's why the whole coda, I would not resolve it into like forceful way. I would try to make it ring instead of bang, and of course not running for tempo. So the only way, the only spot where I would really do accelerando is here. In 2-6-8, and that's of course a very uncomfortable spot, especially if you play it on a tighter keyboard. And that's why, for that reason, you learn it first with a good release, and making sure that you don't work with your thumb too much, but instead use that forearm shaky motion, rotational motion. And you see, avoiding any tension while you hold the long note. And again, you can help yourself increasing both intensity of the music and efficiency, taking more time here. And I separate the last dotted rhythm, marking both 16th note and the strong beat. And then again, this crazy section, which I think wasn't meant for modern pianos, because on modern pianos this feels incredibly weird. On lighter pianos of Chopin's era, of course, that was piece of cake. It was really easy to play such stuff. On a modern piano, it's really uncomfortable. That's why also learning in sections, making sure that you don't overwork with the thumb. Your thumb should feel absolutely loose. You just use forearm rotation. And in the left hand, you have to provide a good support on the longer notes. Like that. I don't know why, but this is essential in order to feel yourself comfortable, because if you play like that, holding the weight of the hand, your right hand also is going to feel really weird. A good support on the longer notes. You really have to implement that supported sensations. Cushioning in the wrist, but good support in the knuckles and in the nail joints, and looseness in the thumb. You can focus it just a tiny bit, but overall you use forearm for that motion. And at first, sit properly, ground yourself, like that, and then gradually minimizing that motion.